All right, last question.
Congressman Issa came out and said that both Chairman Jordan and Comer were not able to present anything that was an impeachable offense at this point. Is that an assessment that you share?
You know, impeachment inquiry is not impeachment. So what impeachment inquiry is to do is to get answers to questions. Are you concerned about all the stuff that was just recently learned? Do you have any concern? Have you asked the White House any questions?
Yes.
Okay. Do you believe the president lied to the American public when he said he'd never talked to his son about business dealings? Yes or no? It's all right. You can't answer that? Do you believe when they said the president went on conference calls? Do you believe that happened?
That's what the testimony says.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you believe the president went to Cafe Milano and had dinner with the clients of Hunter Biden, who believes he got those clients because he was selling the brand?
That's what the testimony
Okay. Do you believe Hunter Biden, when you saw the video of him driving a Porsche, that he got $143,000 to buy that Porsche the next day? Do you believe the $3 million from the Russian oligarch that was transferred to the shell companies that the Bidens controlled after the dinner from Cafe Milano took place? Okay, then I go back. Do you think the president lied when he said
an impeachable is lying and impeachable?
Well, you want to know. I'm not saying impeachment. All I'm saying is I would like to know answers to these questions. The American public ought to know, and that's what impeachment inquiry provides.
As to the quality of the evidence, though, I just have to say, I mean, we do have bank records, devices, laptops, travel records, changes in administration policy. Seems like pretty strong evidence to me.
None of which links President Biden to.
Well, it was Joe Biden on the phone.
None of which.
He was calling into the meetings. But, Abby, are you actually trying to tell your viewers that you don't believe that Joe Biden was involved in Hunter Biden's business deals?
It's not
a
about
hard case.
It's not about what I believe. It's about whether there is evidence that President Biden is linked to the misdeeds that might be linked to Hunter Biden. That's the issue. But I want to get back.
I do want to. Come on. Wait, hold on. Can you just acknowledge that when he calls into the business deals that he's involved?
This is
when
not,
he calls into the dinners,
is not about,
you don't think that's involvement?
No. Stop that. Stop hitting me with all these facts. Stop. I can't. Please. This is my first day on the job. I can't. Please. Gang, it's all unraveling. The Biden regime is actually crumbling right before our very eyes. And we've got the legacy media absolutely panicking over it. They don't know what to do. You can see it. They literally don't know how to answer when confronted with the most obvious of questions, like both McCarthy and Gates were just doing there. I mean, think about it. The legacy media is actually trying to convince their rapidly dwindling audience that Joe Biden involving himself in Hunter's illicit business dealings does not mean that Biden involved himself in Hunter's illicit business dealings. When Biden called in to Hunter's business dealings, that was not Biden involving himself in Hunter's illicit business dealings. I mean, that's the absurdity that McCarthy and Gates are calling out. We are going to analyze the utterly pathetic attempts by the lamestream media to desperately try to keep this sinking ship of Biden's presidency afloat. And we're going to see precisely why it's all blowing up in their face. You're going to absolutely love it. Greetings, everyone. It is Livestream Friday. I am your host, Dr. Steve, your patron professor, here to help you to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. If you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. We are live on both YouTube and Rumble. Super chats and super stickers are up. Send me your questions. I will answer them in due course. The legacy media, as you can see, is in full circle the wagons panic mode. We're going to expose two radically conflicting messages that they're sending out to their rapidly dwindling audiences. And we're going to see precisely why these two conflicting messages point to not just Biden's presidency sinking, but the whole of the swampy establishment as well. The media is admitting in their own way that Biden's presidency is sinking, and he threatens to take the whole managerial administrative deep state down with him as well. And that's exactly what we're going to find out today. All that and more on our Livestream Friday. Super chats and super stickers are up. Send me your questions. And before we do anything else, gang, if you have not yet secured your deed to your home, you need to click on that link below right now and protect yourself and your loved ones. I was absolutely shocked when I found out how easy it is to access the deed to my house, and not just access it, but actually change it. The deed to your home is the only document that proves you own it, but the problem is that the deeds to all our homes are now online, and criminals are free to find your deed, forge your signature, refile as the new owner of your home, take tons of loans out using your home's equity, and then stick you with all the debt. But that's where our good friends over at Home Title Lock come in. Gang, they're amazing. Home Title Lock gives you the peace of mind that the deed to your home is absolutely and completely protected. Click on that link below right now and use promo code TurleyTalks. Then all you got to do is just enter your address for your no obligation home title scan to see if you've already been a victim of deed theft. That's $100 value, absolutely and totally free with my promo code TurleyTalks. Gang, don't wait for the worst to happen, only to regret you didn't do something about it when you could have. Do what I've done, do what countless patriots have done. Click on that link below right now and secure your home today. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. We are all witnessing something absolutely extraordinary. We are witnessing the legacy media circle the wagons in a way that is absolutely unprecedented. Right now, as we speak, the left-wing activists disguised as journalists are doubling down on two fundamentally conflicting messages. I want you to remember these. Take out that pen and that gleaming sheet of white paper and write it down. The media is giving us two conflicting. If we were 35,000 feet, aerial view over the communicative lay of the land, we would hear overall two radically conflicting messages coming from the lamestream media. One, as I'm sure you're all now well aware, is that there is absolutely no evidence whatsoever for Biden having done anything wrong. None. Nada. Zippo. Biden is virtually the single most pristine thing to ever happen to the United States. He's almost as immaculate, spotless, and clean as the 2020 election itself. We, of course, all know that as far as the legacy media is concerned, nothing in all of history comes close to the honesty, the integrity, the impeccability of the 2020 election. But if something did approximate the unquestionable, unblemished integrity of that election, it would be one Joe Biden. So that's one of the meta messages that the legacy media is sending out there. There's no evidence whatsoever, none, that Joe Biden has ever done anything wrong in all his 80 plus years on this earth. And then there's one at the same time, a second message that is being unambiguously relayed throughout the various lamestream media outlets. It's got slightly different nuances, slightly different emphases, but it's very clear. The second message is simply, it's time for Joe to go. That's right. It's time for Joe to go. David Ignatius of the Washington Post. He is the mouthpiece of the deep state. He is saying it's time for Joe to go. Biden's moral impeccability will forever be enshrined in history if he would graciously and ceremoniously leave. If he would just simply bow out. Now, these are the two mutually exclusive messages that the legacy media is doubling down on as we speak. There is no evidence of any wrongdoing whatsoever, and it's time for Joe to go. It's time for Joe to go, and he did nothing wrong. Now, I want to unpack this for you. I want to unpack these mutually exclusive messages for you here because you'll notice something rather fascinating at the outset. And this is something you absolutely have to get. When it comes to that second message, it's time for Joe to go, you'll notice that that entails a near unanimous sentiment. We, the American people, apparently are now all virtually agreed in this assessment that Joe's got to go. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. It doesn't matter if it's Fox News or the Washington Post, liberal versus conservative, right versus left. It doesn't matter. Apparently, we now all agree on one thing. It's time for Biden to go. The disagreement is simply over the manner in which he should leave. The legacy media is doing everything they can to make sure that he leaves with some supposedly impeccable moral credentials intact, whereas the Republicans want him leaving with his tail between his legs and utter humiliation. That appears to be the only difference. We, the American people today, have officially arrived at a mass consensus. Despite the fact that there's supposedly no evidence of any wrongdoing whatsoever, despite that supposed fact, nevertheless, we all agree. A supermajority agrees it's time for Biden to bow out of the 2024 race. And the legacy media of all people are leading that charge. And yet, it's the very same legacy media that is at the same time telling us there is absolutely no evidence at all of any wrongdoing on Biden's part. He's got to go, and there's nothing wrong with him. So what on earth is going on here? I mean, obviously, something's getting lost in the translation here. I mean, let's be blunt. Trump, no matter where you come from, whether you support him or oppose him, Trump and the Republicans look absolutely sane in comparison with that conflicting messaging. It's no wonder the media is losing the circle the wagons effort. But what gives in all of this? What's really going on here? Well, first and foremost, as we solve this mystery together, we have to remember that the legacy media is not about telling the truth. The legacy media is all about control and manipulation. This is who the legacy media is. Remember, the ones who are telling us that Biden's got to go and there's nothing wrong with him. Those very same people are the same ones that told us that Trump colluded with Russia to steal the 2016 election, that Justice Smollett was the victim of a horrible race crime, that Brett Kavanaugh was a rapist, that the COVID lab leak was nothing more but a conspiracy theory, that border agents on horseback ran around whipping migrants, that the Covington Catholic school kids mocked a poor, peaceful Native American simply banging on his drum, that President Trump built cages for migrant kids and recommended that people drink bleach to cure COVID, that Kyle Rittenhouse was a white supremacist, and of course, the piece de resistance, the Hunter Biden laptop, was nothing more than Russian disinformation. Those people, those very people who push those very lies are the ones now telling us there's no evidence for Biden's corruption. And note, too, it's not that Biden isn't corrupt. It's just now, well, there's no evidence. That's who we're dealing with here. They're not interested in truth. If that doesn't prove it, I don't know what does. They're not interested in truth. They're interested in power. That's the key to understanding the legacy media today. They're not interested in truth. They're interested in power. This is what a globalist technocratic society is all about. Globalism is about centralization and technocracy is about control. And the more you can centralize and control, the greater your power and affluence becomes. So that's all the corporatist legacy media cares about, is power and control. So then what are they desperately, yet I would argue fleetingly, trying to control here? This is what they're trying to control. They're trying to control the bleeding, the hemorrhaging. Now, if you're listening by way of podcast, by way of our 15 million download podcast, we're proud and honored to say, the headline reads, Biden's poll numbers reach a dangerous new low. According to the latest Quinnipiac poll, 51% of Democrats said that they were open to voting for someone else other than Sleepy Joe in 2024. Barely 40% said they're all in on him. More than half their party is open to voting for someone else. Now, gang, I mean, when you're incumbent running for re-election, that's beyond devastating. When half your party says, I don't think so. It literally doesn't get worse than that. And that, of course, comes on the heels of the Wall Street Journal poll that found that 75% of voters, 3 in 4, think Biden is too old to be president. 75% think he needs to bow out. There's your super majority. And what was even more shocking is that that included 69% of Democrats. 7 in 10 Democrats thought Biden was too old to be president. And then 60% of all voters believe Biden is not mentally fit for the job. Now, those are some pretty horrific numbers. But that's only half the problem. It's not just a matter of Biden's low numbers. I mean, as long as the opposition is equally unpopular, it's all relativized, right? The problem is that the opposition, of course, being Trump, is at the same time surging. Take a look at this. Trump now officially has taken the lead in the Real Clear Politics aggregate polling, which averages out all the polling over the last several months. Now, keep in mind, the day before the 2020 election, the RCP aggregate had Biden leading Trump by over 7 points. And of course, true to form, on November 3rd, the most pristine election ever, Biden vastly underperformed that number. He only got half that. And Trump vastly outperformed the polls. So more and more Democrats are openly recognizing that were the election held today, Trump would crush Biden in an electoral landslide. Even Larry Sabato of Crystal Ball, a rabid anti-Trumper, is admitting that. These polls, I mean, what do you say? They're beyond devastating for Biden. And it gets worse. This doesn't even factor in the looming recession that most economists believe is right around the corner. Historically, a recession is disaster for incumbency. No incumbent has won re-election if a recession occurs anytime in the last 2 years of his term in office. No incumbent has won re-election if a recession occurs anytime in the last 2 years of his term in office. So you think Biden's poll numbers are bad right now? We ain't seen nothing yet. So the Democrats, the donor class, and the deep state, they're all seeing the same thing. They're all seeing that Biden is politically collapsing right before our very eyes, and that if the Democrats don't do something quick, they risk losing everything. I mean, with a Trumpinator coming back to power, right? Where's my Trumpinator? I'll be back. With a Trumpinator coming back to power and ready to go full animal on them. I mean, literally like rounding them up. They risk losing the whole of the administrative state, which is the source of their power and affluence. The problem on top of the problem, and I think this is the key to the whole messaging, conflicting messaging that's going out. The problem on top of the problem is that they have no one else to replace Biden. Kamala's a joke, right? We got to tune this up, Josh. We saw this yesterday with Nancy Pelosi throwing her under the bus. Check this out.
Best running mate for this president?
He thinks so, and that's what matters. And by the way,
you think so?
She's very politically astute. I don't think people give her enough credit. She's, of course, values-based, consistent with the president's values and the rest. And people don't understand, she's politically astute. Why would she be vice president if she were not? But when she was running for attorney general in California, she had 6% in the polls. 6% in the polls. And she politically astutely made her case about why she would be good, did her politics, and became attorney general. So people shouldn't underestimate what Kamala Harris brings to the table.
But do you think she is the best running mate, though?
She's the vice president of the United States. So when people say to me, well, why isn't she doing this or that? I said, because she's the vice president. That's the job description. You don't do that much. You're a source of strength, inspiration, intellectual resource, and the rest. I think she's represented our country very well at home and abroad.
You don't do that much. What do you say? You don't do that. You know, Anderson, you don't do that much. What should we expect? She's the vice president. She doesn't do anything. If that weren't a clear signal that they have absolutely no intention whatsoever of ever turning the Democrat Party over to Cackles Kamala, I have no idea what would be. So Cackles ain't happening. But neither is Gavin Newsom, if you think it through. He barely survived a recall effort in the bluest of blue states. He's very unpopular. He's not going anywhere. I don't see Michelle Obama doing anything of yet. I know there's been some rumblings there from others around her, and even if she were, I don't think she would be anywhere near as popular as her husband. Obviously, the media doesn't have a lot of confidence in her, or else they wouldn't be doing any of this stuff. So they don't have anyone. The Democrats are stuck with a convalescent senile candidate. And that is exactly what explains the conflicting messaging. But first, gang, you know how you can really stick it to the regime? It's just by clicking on that link below and getting your very own set of these collectible limited supply Trump cards. Patriots played their anti-globalist Trump card against the left in 2016, and we're getting ready to play it again in 2024. So what better way to show your support for Trump's reelection than with these 5 collectible pieces of Trump art? These cards have a limited supply, so don't wait. Only 2,500 sets of these cards are set to be made, and they'll all come with a certificate of authenticity verifying you own an original set. These make great gifts for any MAGA patriot in your life, and if you buy 2 sets, you also get a bonus gold Trump 2024 card absolutely free. These physical cards are high quality, made in America, and highly collectible. And again, there's only a limited supply, so don't wait. By the time you remember, they'll likely be gone. So click on that link below right now and get your Trump 2024 cards today. All right. Now, we come to the legacy media's "there's no evidence" absurdity. Now, I think what we're seeing here is the lamestream media's attempt at hedging against the fact that they have no other options other than Sleepy Joe, the incontinent in chief. So they're, one at the same time, doing their best to get the Democrats to try to come up with a plan B. Well, that would have been Kamala. So a plan C or a plan D. But if they can't, then the legacy media needs to do what they can to keep whatever's left of Joe's political viability intact. Now, as part of that, I actually think that's where the whole indictment of Hunter is coming in. Okay, this is, I know, a little bit of a counter read, but the more I'm reading on this, the more skeptical I'm getting of this indictment. Robert Barnes is arguing that this indictment really does actually serve to protect Sleepy Joe, in that it ties up Hunter in court, and he's now protected by pleading the fifth. If you were granted immunity like the original sweetheart plea deal, which was a scumbag deal, no question. But at least he would not be able to hide behind the Fifth Amendment and could be subpoenaed by a congressional oversight committee to testify against his father. So Barnes thinks that this Hunter indictment is ironically helping Joe, or at least it's intended to do so. And then at the same time, of course, you got the indictments against Trump that the legacy media and the deep state still think is going to take him out, as well as the DeSantis campaign, right? Along with the whole of the Republican establishment, like Brian Kemp and the scumbags in Georgia. They actually believe that a kangaroo court convicting Trump is enough to end his presidential run. So remember, Biden's falling poll numbers is only half of it. Trump is surging. That's the danger. You got to get Trump back down to him falling as well, so that way at least you've got a chance. So that's why I think they're pushing these indictments. At the same time, you're also getting these, oh, Joe didn't do anything wrong. Joe didn't do anything wrong. Now, of course, I think they could not possibly be more mistaken on this. The more they weaponize the law against Trump, the more they engage in kangaroo court-like tactics, the higher his poll numbers rise. And we've seen precisely why. And it's actually two reasons. We've got polling on this, decisive polling, that shows 8 out of 10 Americans believe we live in a two-tier justice system that benefits the rich and powerful at the expense of everyone else. So that's number one. So they're seeing Trump as a victim of that. And number two, otherwise loyal Democrat constituencies like Black and Latino voters, they're increasingly identifying with Trump and aligning themselves with him because they too feel like they're victims of a corrupt two-tier justice system. And so they're more and more seeing Trump. And again, this is the Republicans' constituency that they need to come out in mass for them in order to win. They need those big margins. These constituencies are more and more seeing Trump as their champion to fight against the corrupt powers that be, not the Democrats, but Trump. So this is why Biden is now polling with the lowest levels of support among non-white working class voters since Walter Mondale in 1984. And we all know how that came out. And besides, no one is buying this silly refrain. There's no evidence. Even CNN is admitting it. Take a look.
The time when he was vice president, right? Whether Joe Biden was involved in Hunter Biden's business dealings at the time he served as vice president. Overall, if you look here, 61% of Americans think Joe Biden was involved. You can see partisanship drives this, right? Obviously, nearly all Republicans, 90%, believe that. This has been a major storyline and talking point on Fox News and elsewhere. 64% of independents believe that Biden was involved in Hunter's business dealings. 28% of Democrats. And I want to show you, of that 61% overall there that believe he had dealings, 42%, Dana, think that Joe Biden acted illegally when he was vice president in those business dealings. 38% say not involved. 18% said he acted unethically, but not illegally. But that is a significant number as well.
I mean, there you go, gang. I mean, it's just the whole thing is falling apart. It's all falling apart. So what does it all mean? It all means that the legacy media is doing everything they can to encourage Democrats to find someone else to run in 2024. All the while they're trying to maintain whatever's left of Biden's electability. And none of it is working. It's all falling apart. Of course it is. You can't have these two mutually exclusive messages smacking against each other. It makes Trump and the Republicans look perfectly sane by comparison. It's all falling apart. Now, obviously, having said that, look, I mean, this is no time to get complacent. The deep state, at the behest of the legacy media, is going to do everything they possibly can to thwart Donald Trump from successfully being reelected. But if what we're seeing thus far continues to play itself out, it really does look like the establishment may have finally met their match. Over to you, gang. As Josh, our moderator, assembles your questions, we've got our own Patriot to support here. Make sure to click on the link below and share your support for the one and only Mike Lindell by treating yourself to one of Mike's brand new pillows. He's done the impossible, gang. Mike has taken what was already one of the most comfortable pillows in the market, and he's made it even better. That's right. My Pillow 2.0 is here with Mike's new cooling fabric technology combined with his original MyPillow fill, this is truly the most comfortable pillow out there. It's always cool to the touch and provides some of the best neck support I've ever experienced in a pillow, leading to some pretty awesome sleep. Now, for the limited time, Mike is providing over $150 off his new MyPillow if you use promo code Turley. That's right. MyPillow.com/Turley will get you massive savings on a set of 4 MyPillow 2.0s. Mike's a true patriot. He's a friend of the show and a bona fide American entrepreneur. It's really a great product, so don't wait. Mike told me these new pillows are selling like hotcakes, and this offer will not last forever. So click on that link in my description below and use promo code Turley to get your MyPillow 2.0 today. All right, gang, what do we got here, Josh? Line up them questions. Brooks Kelly, good to see you, and thank you for the gift. Biden has gone from sham to shame. I like that. From sham to shame. Yeah, that is, there's something to that, isn't there? I mean, it's one thing, the Biden, the whole thing is a sham, right? We all know this is the problem when you install a regime rather than the impeccable, pristine election integrity of 2020. I mean, this is what happens, right? You've got a sham, and now, it's funny. I was just talking to my wife before this, and she was just saying, this is just so sad. It's so sad looking at this. I mean, she's far more compassionate than I. I don't have any empathy for these people at all. But to see just, just him physically denigrating in front of everyone, just that bizarre kind of stare he has, and that shuffle in his gait, and his inability to even put a single sentence together. You heard him yelling the other day. It just, rah, rah. I mean, the guy he's just in his own little world. So it is a shame when all is said and done. So shame both in terms of sad as well as embarrassment. Thank you, Brooks. Awesome. Mitchell, good to see you, and thank you for the gift. Do you think the establishment wanted us all along to get rid of Biden? Also, wouldn't the Republicans feel better going against Biden than someone else? Yeah, sure. I mean, I think this is directed solely against the Republicans by the Democrat. Well, the Republican establishment. Again, remember, the establishment doesn't have to be the majority in order to be in power. So this is what Mitch McConnell doesn't care if he's majority or minority leader. He doesn't give a rip. He still has the same power. He still gets the tens of millions of dollars. So their power and affluence is independent whether they're not there in the majority. They just have to be at the seat of the table, as it were. Was this the establishment wanted all along to get rid of Biden? I don't know. I think at some point they made their peace with Biden. They figured, okay, he's the safest candidate. They're not going to go wrong with him per se. But yeah, now, I mean, it's falling apart. They're reading the poll numbers. It's collapsing. They got to get rid of him. But at the same time, they've got to provide some kind of hedge in case they don't have anyone to replace him. Now, if they got someone to replace him, they're going to knock him down real fast. That's he's going to be, it's like, when they pull the cartoon character who's got the hat on, they pull the cartoon in, the hat's still floating in there, and they're gone from the scene. That's going to be what's going to happen to Joe. I mean, they're going to pull him out of that White House so fast. But until then, they've got to hedge their bets. And so they've got to maintain whatever political viability they have. So there's no evidence. He's perfect. Again, he's the most moral man on the planet. That's what the media's been telling. Like, I don't think they have much of a reputation to save anymore. But I was going to say it's their reputation that's on the line as well, because they're the ones who sold us Biden. And if he turns out to be a moral lech, and once again, they just have egg on their face. But I don't think they care at this point. Thanks, Mitchell. Larry Davis, thank you, sir. Good to see you. Thank you for the gift. Do you believe the Democrats are followers of ethical relativism? Yeah, of course. Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're the patron saints of ethical relativism. So ethical, for those who don't know, moral relativism or ethical relativism is the notion that there is no objective moral law in the world. Remember, the way we used to think of law was discovered. It was not invented. Law was discovered. So there was an objective moral law inherent in the world. We're all born into a world of divine obligation. And in other words, the world is filled with eternal meaning and eternal moral sentiment, as it were. And therefore, every person born in the world is obligated to conform their lives into a harmonious relationship with that divine meaning and purpose. So that's what natural law is all about. All of our founding fathers were natural law theorists, right? Nature and nature's God. And what we're supposed to do is align our law and our ethical lives with that divine moral law up there. After the Enlightenment, the 18th century, Industrial Revolution, 19th century, that reconfigured society around technocratic impulses, and then the managerial class elite taking over in the 20th century, all that changed. And now we've moved from natural law to what's called positivist law. And positivist law is the notion that we actually invent law. We make up law, and we make up law in such a way that benefits those who are in power. So we live in a time now where people like Hillary Clinton, or Klaus Schwab or George Soros or Biden, for that matter, are literally above the law. The very ones who say no one is above the law, which they say to a man who hasn't even been convicted, no one's above the law. They're the very ones who create the laws that, by definition of which, they are above. So those laws always operate in accordance with their own advantage and at our own expense. So yes, they make up law as they go along. They make up ethics as they go along, and it's always there to benefit them. So there you go, Larry. That's my 300-year quick little history there. Thank you, sir, for your gift. Michael Weaver, super sticker. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Michael. Very, very appreciated. Servant of God, good to see you, my friend. Thank you for that wonderful gift. You're very kind. So I will say this. Margaret Taylor Greene saying Gates should basically lay off McCarthy is telling. She seems to be a fence sitter at times on stuff people want Congress to do. And yes, she went after him after he demanded that McCarthy stop dragging his heels. I think MTG is playing a good cop, bad cop role. I think that's what she's. So her patriot bona fides are unquestionable. I mean, they are impeccable. They're beyond reproach. I know Laura Loomer and others are gonna, try to take her to task, but I think that's Laura's deal. She could do that. I love Laura too, but no, I think Gates is the stalwart. Gates is the consistent pit bull that's going to keep McCarthy honest. And then Marjorie Taylor Greene is the liaison. She's the go-between the hardcore MAGA side of the Republican Party and the more rhino, neocon, milquetoast side of the Republican Party. She is balancing that out, and I think she's doing that because she's positioning herself for a much larger role in the party. That's just politics. That's the way it works. It's Game of Thrones stuff. That's just what you got to deal with. So I don't think it's any flaw inherent in Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think she's just playing the liaison, and she will be full Matt Gaetz at one level, but then she will be very sympathetic to McCarthy at another level. But thank God the person who's playing that role is a true bona fide MAGA patriot and not some pretend. I have only 4-letter words in my head, and I don't want to say anything yucky. Yes, just fortunately, we don't want any dishonest chameleons. I will just say it that way. There you go. I refrain. That was some virtue there. That was some self-restraint. Thank you, servant of God. Josh, thank you for your gift. Dr. Steve, I live in Georgia. My state is lost. I hear you, man. The thing is going to say vote Republican will be fine, but that's not true. The thing is going to say vote Republican, we will be fine. Oh, I see what you mean. The thing is to say we vote Republican, everything will be fine. No, you're absolutely right. And I think most people have woken up to that. Most people woken up after 2020 and 2022 and what Kemp is doing and what is it, your attorney general are not doing, which they could end this Fulton County fiasco today, but they're not because they're complicit in it. I think most people are seeing it today, and they see that the Republicans are every bit as dishonest as Democrats. It's just there's the MAGA movement inside the Republican Party, so there's a redemptive element inside the Republican Party. RFK Jr. has yet to break into the Democrats the way Trump broke into the Republicans. He was a third-party candidate that won a major party nomination. So he's been able to revitalize the party. Otherwise, you just have two neocon, neo-lib parties that just rule in accordance with the values, interests, and concerns of the permanent political class, the billionaires and bureaucrats, completely leaving the rest of us behind. I mean, and we're standing up to them, saying enough. I mean, you've got the auto workers union strike that's going on right now. First time we've ever had it, all across the board, with all the manufacturers against all this EV green nonsense. So the people are rising up. They're pushing back like never before. I mean, you even have it among the writers' strike in Hollywood. I mean, in a sense, it's people versus the elite. It's playing itself out in all different kinds of theaters. RFK versus the Democratic Party. It's fascinating stuff that's happening. We'll see what happens in Georgia. If Trump is able to get out the rule vote like he did in 2016, we're good. I don't think you have to worry about it. Just the problem, as I understand, the urban vote has grown. The Atlanta vote has grown astronomically over the years, and now they're winning because there's nobody to bring out the MAGA vote. And Herschel Walker wasn't able to do it. Again, it's very, very difficult to get a seat change in some of the voting patterns, but no one gets him out like Trump. He only lost it by 10,000 votes. So hopefully, if the shenanigans can be quelled, but again, with Kemp in there, who actively wants Trump gone, who knows? Who knows what they're going to do? So that's why we have to come out en masse and vote these people out in a way that it'll be the mother of all elections. It'll never be forgotten about. Thank you, Josh. David Suit Super Sticker. Thank you, David. Very kind of you. Brooks Kelly. Does Michelle get her own Bud Light cat too? Michelob? Is that what we'll call it? Oh, I love it. Thanks, Brooks. I love it. Stephen Connor, it's good to see you, Stephen. And your analysis doesn't factor in the upcoming loss in Ukraine. Great point. Great point. Disaster abroad, disaster at home. That's right. Yeah, I just heard. Who was it? I think it was Barnes who just said that, Trump's slogan is going to be brilliant. It's shaping up to be brilliant. A peace abroad, prosperity at home. What's Biden's? It's war abroad and poverty at home, right? It's just disasters abroad, disasters at home. Absolutely. I think you're absolutely right, Stephen. It's going to make the Afghanistan withdrawal look successful by comparison at this point. This is why I think they're getting desperate. This is why they're hitting the Crimean naval base. I mean, again, I've just been very impressed with Putin at how very calculated and measured he's been throughout the entire process. He seems to remain completely resolute, sticking to his plan. He seems to know exactly what he wants. And I don't think the incompetent woke morons at NATO have any idea how to respond. Let's just pray we stay out of some insane war. Thank you, Stephen. I think you're absolutely right. Hi, Q. Thank you, sir, for the pound sterling. Dr. Turley, given the state of the academic today, have you considered getting your money back for your PhD? I got it over across the pond. I got it at Durham. I have not. I gotta be honest with you. I mean, I loved my time at Durham University. Durham's part of the UK university system, like Oxford and Cambridge, and St. Andrews and the like. And Exeter. I did PhD work, so I hooked up with a couple of supervisors, and they were brilliant and they were wonderful. And we didn't get much into politics or anything like that. They were just. I did it in New Testament, early Christianity, and you have one of the best patristic scholar in the world there, Andrew Louth. So I was like a pig in mud there. But yes, I mean, the American university system, my gosh. I mean, the fact that I spent 20 years in a university classroom, again, some of the students were wonderful, and my faculty colleagues were wonderful. But we all saw the same thing. We all saw the university system basically morally imploding. We all saw this wokeification happening that we knew spelled the end of civilization. Now, of course, with a parallel economy and a parallel civilization emerging, that can implode, and let it implode, and we will continue to grow and flourish. But I got out of the academy. That's what I did. I kept my doctor because I worked too hard for it, but I got out of the academy. And so anyway, that's a high Q. That's great. Now, a shout out to Durham. I love Durham. Great 10th century medieval town. Love it, man. Thank you. Raven, writing desk. Thank you, sir. Writing desk. Thank you, sir, for the gift. Let's not forget that 5 states took a week to call the election 2020 with mainstream media help. Absolutely. And it was, and then the whole, a pipe burst. A pipe burst. So we have to clear everything out because a pipe burst. Yeah. Right. Because, you got all that water going at 2 a.m., right? What do you say? I mean, it was so blatantly evil, what they did. And the mainstream media lies with that face of evil. I know, yeah, we got it. We have to go into 2024 recognizing they're going to pull out all the stops to stop Trump from assuming power once again, because they know if he does, it's over for them. So for them, it's a life or death struggle. Gang, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going no matter what happens in 2024. The parallel economy is exploding. I just interviewed Michael Seifert and Andrew Krapuschetz of Public Square and Red Balloon, and they just did a survey of 50,000 patriot businesses out there and what they plan to do over the next 5 years, what they're investing their money in. So they are freaking fired up. They are ready to rock and roll. The parallel economy is booming. And again, it's international with BRICS, of course. So we don't have to, I don't think we have to worry. They're the ones who have to worry. If Trump comes to power, they're done. And if our parallel economy explodes, they're done. So they're done either way. So, but you're right. They're going to pull out all the stops. Make no mistake on that, Raven. Absolutely. Thank you for the gift. Very kind of you. BW, do you think Texas will be blue in 10 years? I don't think so. Well, hold on. Let me take that back. Let me set this up. Texas has gotten more red over the last 10 years. That's what you have to understand. Texas has got, remember, Texas used to be blue. Texas, you're right. Ann Richards, for heaven's sakes. Right? Texas used to vote in Democrats. Okay, that's gone. Texas is a fully Republican state. It got more red in 2022 than it was in 2020, and it got more red in 2020 than in 2018, and more red in 2018 than 2016. So the trend is it's getting more and more red. What we're finding, ironically, is the bulk of leftugees that come from California are coming from California's counties, its rural areas, and so they're hardcore conservatives. And we have data on that. Beto O'Rourke won the native Texan vote by 2 points, whereas Ted Cruz is back in 2018, whereas Ted Cruz won the leftugee vote, the California vote that came over, by 15 points. If it weren't for the leftugees, Beto O'Rourke would be the senator of Texas. Now you say, oh, but that proves they're getting more blue. No, it proves one, that the blue hangover still kind of carries on even as it's getting less and less. And two, Cruz was very unpopular. What he pulled in 2016 and that stunt refusing to endorse Trump made him very, very unpopular among Republicans. So no, I think it was much more a Cruz kind of thing. And now Beto's a joke. I mean, it's laughable. Again, it's very similar to what was happening in Florida around that time, same year, where DeSantis almost lost, what was his name, Guillaume, the crack smoker. So no, both Texas and Florida have gotten more red. We don't have to worry about that. And even in the Rio Grande areas, McAllen and so on, they are now voting more red than they've ever voted in 100 years. What can thwart it for Texas is your pathetic, or if you're in Texas, the pathetic Rhino Bush Rove wing of the party that's trying to take down Ken Paxton right now. Now, I did a video on that. If you want to get, I got deeper into that. But those are the guys that are going to crush and kill the Republican Party. It's not the MAGA crowd. And it's not because everybody wants to go Democrat. It's because the Republican Party is so odious in Texas. They're so rhino. They're so establishment. They're so Bushite Rovite. The Bushite Rovites need to be expunged from the party. Just expel them. Get rid of them. Even Romney bowing out is a good sign that even he's recognized. And he admitted, I'm done. I lost. It's the Trump wing that won. He didn't want to get Liz Cheney'd. It's the Trump wing that won. George P. Bush got shellacked in the primaries by Ken Paxton. He got, in effect, Liz Cheney. I mean, got absolutely shellacked. The Bushes are out, and Rove is out. Now he's just getting his check from Murdoch and the donor class, like he always has. He's made his whole life doing. So it's very important to keep them out. And any and all Republicans that vote to convict Ken Paxton need to be primaried and taken out of Texas, or you deserve to lose it. It's just that simple. Now, by the way, it looks like I'm going to be at Texas. We haven't finalized the schedule yet, or even just the trip, but it looks like I'm going to be at Texicon, by the way. And I think we're going to have a big meet and greet up there. So just so you know, for you guys in Texas, come on out to Waco, and it'd be great. Texicon is huge, and Daniel Miller is amazing. And Texas is a very, very important secessionist hedge to 2024 if 2024 falls apart. All right. There you go, BW. Love you, man. Rumble chat. Thank you, sir. Crash Bandit supporter. Thank you so much for the gift. I demand a better quality of lizard people from this generation. They can't even hide their actions. Have a good weekend, everyone. That's right. That is not a real man. That is not a real dude. I expect. That's what I mean. When you have a legacy media that even makes Kim Jong-un blush. I mean, it's not even fun anymore. It's like, you have to try to read through the dog whistling and through the gaslighting. They don't even try anymore. I mean, they're just so. They lie so badly. It's so pathetic. There's no evidence. When Joe Biden calls into a business meeting with Hunter Biden, there's no evidence he had anything to do with that business meeting. I mean, I just don't even know what to say at that point. It's just like, guys, I mean, that's why Matt Gaetz is just laughing at him. So thank you. Thank you, Crash Bandit. Yano, good to see you, man. LGBTQ, let's get Biden to quit. Yes. Yes, let's get Biden to quit. LGBTQ. We are all LGBTQ here. Yes, very good, Yana. Thank you, sir. Doomsday Machine. Thank you for the gift, sir. Great stream, Doctor. Have you ever seen or read Full Metal Alchemist? I have. Great anime. Between its religious themes and tight, well-written story, it's perfect comparison to the current rise of nationalist populism and Christianity we're seeing today. Doomsday. Dude, man, you're making me want to go back to it. It's been a couple of years since I've seen it, but go back and do a review on that. I agree with you 1,000%. Full Metal Alchemist is a brilliant anime about the nature of the human soul and what makes us human and the relation of that to the body. And yes, I think so. It's funny. It's not funny. I mean, just saying that because we've gone so woke, people ask me, what do you recommend for parallel media, parallel Netflix or parallel movies and entertainment and so forth. And one of the things I always bring up is anime. Get into anime. And I mean, they have anime schools. They have anime colleges in Japan. They're very, very, I have a former student who's thinking of going into one, actually, who's over in Tokyo studying right now. The level, the depth of their storyboarding, the level of human drama that they're able to draw into and draw us into is, in many ways, I mean, it's very worthy of the great themes of Russian literature. I think that's what they're drawing from in many respects. Biblical literature, Russian literature, Western literature. They're finding incredible epic themes, but representing them in a specifically Japanese anime mode way. And it's brilliant. So maybe we got to start doing a little more of Turley Talks anime presentations to encourage people if they want to see some really good quality entertainment that doesn't have a shred of wokeness to it. Now they got to be careful because Netflix has been hooking up with anime or J drama in general, and they've been funneling in the wokeness in there and just their own little way. Japanese don't deal with it or don't tolerate it as much. It doesn't make as much sense in the Japanese society. It focuses on harmony as opposed to this radical left-wing Marxist civil rights stuff. But absolutely, I think the more people are tapped into anime like Full Metal Alchemist, absolutely, or Death Note. Death Note is also tremendous biblical themes throughout that. I mean, one of the characters, washes the feet of another person who turns around and betrays him. Plays a Judas figure. It's just absolutely brilliant stuff. So anyway, yes, absolutely, I think you're right on, Doomsday Machine. Brilliant, and thank you for the gift. That's very kind of you. Thank you, servant of God. For those that forgot, tonight is Rosh Hashanah at sundown. Sometime RBG was announced. Oh, same time Ruth Bader Ginsburg was announced as dead. Watch for big things. And in 10 days on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. Yes. All right. Thank you, servant of God. Awesome. I love it. I love it. We got a little Jonathan Kahn reading here of the Times. I love it. Gal Palval, thank you for the gift. Is it possible the Democratic strategy is to promote Kamala as the president of Canada along with a Buttigieg VP and go with a woke campaign to get the USA into voting for them? It could be, Gal Palval. I guess the one, so even in that Washington Post op-ed, even he threw Kamala under the bus. He wanted the whole 2024 ticket gone. He wanted, or the 2020 ticket gone in 2024. He just wanted it gone. He thought they should just open up the primaries and, let the best Democrat win, as it were. And Buttigieg, of course, would be part of that, which says is something if he represents one of the best Democrats. That tells you all you need to know. So I just don't see any evidence that anybody's behind Kamala at this point. I'm just not. Now she is. She's running around going, I'm ready. When she stops her embarrassing, Elaine from Seinfeld dancing moves. But I think I just haven't seen it. I haven't seen the evidence, but they may pivot to that. That's an interesting thing. It may pivot to a woke election. I don't think it'll work. I don't think people want woke anymore. That's just the sense that I'm getting. Next. BB Bear, Harry and Chris are going to have a Bud Light can. Yes, I think so. At some point, Harry and Chris are going to have a Bud Light can. I think there's a code in there I'm missing. That's me. It's just thank you, PW Bear. Flat Matrix. Wouldn't it be beautiful the military control the 2024 election? A lot of people are saying that. A lot of people are saying we need something like a Brazil situation or a Turkey situation where you just have a military that's completely removed from all of this nonsense and maybe can step in here or there. So, yeah, it would be very interesting. No question. Walalos, good to hear from you, my friend. What do you think about Donald Trump tweet about Putin imitating the Biden strategies to silence the opposition? Trump tweet about Putin imitating the Biden. I did not see that. The only one I heard was Putin talking about how Biden has weaponized elections, but I haven't seen the Trump tweet with Putin imitating others akin to Biden. That doesn't make a lot of sense because, I mean, again, if Putin's intimidation tactics would be the primary, and then Biden would be the likened to it. So I don't see Trump just beating up on Putin saying, "Oh, now you're acting like Biden." That doesn't make a lot of sense from my end. But no, I mean, you got to understand. I mean, in Russia, they're autocratic libertarian in Russia. That's or even better, kind of theocratic libertarianism that's going on in Russia. So their politics are going to be a lot more autocratic and authoritarian than we're used to, for sure, particularly in our more Western libertarian tradition. But they do that together with the church so as to secure the necessary, this is the argument, the necessary preconditions so that you can do whatever you want, so that you can live out your best life. So in Russia, I mean, if you go to their form of Facebook, what is it, Vstock? I forget what it's called. I mean, I've been on it. You can post anything you want. You can post anything you want. You can be as unwoke as you want. There's no cancel culture in Russia. It's just not going to happen. Not for anything beating up things that are politically correct. But there are limits to what you could say politically. There are limits there. They're going to put a stopgap. Not totally. I mean, if you watch Russian, conversational television and so forth, like Solyov and all. I mean, they get deep. They criticize Putin. They get pretty hardcore in terms of the talk news that they have there, talk radio kind of thing that they have there. But there's just going to be a bit more. The power is going to reside far more in one man than we're comfortable with here. But to turn around and say, like Putin is, I mean, this whole tired sort of, Putin's just this czarist who's just, is a despot, just, beating up everybody and kicking puppies and invading countries when he's bored and so forth. I haven't read any real analysis of a real Russian studies prof that even comes close to that assessment of Putin. But thank you, Walalos. Servant of God, thank you again. Do you recall that guy on Joe Rogan's podcast that said, given China lied about their population by over 100 million of people born after one child, but they have up to 10 years until collapse. It sounds like Peter Zion, servant of God. I'll just be honest with you. I take Zion with a huge grain of salt. Zion has been predicted. It's not Zion, it's Zihan. Just so you know, he's been predicting China's collapse for 15 years. Of everybody kind of flashes an article he wrote back in 2010 for Straffer, the geopolitical think tank, where he what do you predict for the next 10 years? China's going to collapse. China's going to fall apart. I'd be careful. China, he's been talking about that for a long time. We'll have to see. And again, how he knows that they've lied about their population of over 100 million. Again, we'll have to. Everything they say about China has yet to come to pass. It just hasn't. They just keep getting stronger. More and more nations are reconverging around them. They're becoming a bigger trade partner with 70% of the world's population right now. 70% has China as their number one trade partner. I mean, yeah, they're not collapsing at this point. That I'm just not seeing it. If it happened, I think we can, in retrospect, figure out what happened. But I don't see it. So that's Peter Zion. I don't tend to buy him. He's also he hates Trump, and he's totally he's on board with the whole Ukraine Zelensky insanity. So anyway, servant of God, thank you again. Code Case, am I getting any Goodman except Witch from Mercury? The woke got bodied after that when episode 12 had a person become ketchup, and Trinity Blood also skipped Gundam Seed, all of Seed. Is this anime? You got me on that one, Servant of God. I don't know what code that is, and that's me. It's not you, I'm sure. Rock Dog, thank you for the gift. Dr. Steve, the slap in the face on 9/11. Yeah. Oh, I didn't even bring that up. Shh. All right, I'll read. Sorry, Rock Dog. I'll read through it. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about Kamala. Dr. Steve, the slap in the face on 9/11 was my last nerve. I lost so many friends that day at the fire department in New York, and so many since to cancer. Biden has always been a piece of shit. How do we finally get rid of the uniparty? I beat stage 4 cancer. God bless you, Rock Dog. God bless you. God bless you on that. I know someone very close to me who's wrestling with cancer right now. So awesome, man. Awesome. God bless you with that. How do we finally get rid of the uniparty? If Trump comes to power, I think that will be it. It has the potential being it because he's going to go full animal. He keeps grudges and so forth. In the end, we have got to take over the Republican Party fully. We've got to take over the Republican Party, and we've got to come up with our own class of donors who represent a new donor class, who are like Elon like Mike Lindell and Trump himself and a number of others who are totally Peter Thiel, who are totally 100% on board of MAGA. Or at the very least want to destroy anything that even sniffs of elite wokeness. So the fact that they're going after Elon right now, I think is great. I think that's good. That's just all the more going to bring him over to our side. But I think it's a combination of got to take over one party fully, get rid of all the rhinos, get rid of those Texas rhinos, get rid of the Georgia rhinos, get rid of the Karl Rove wing, get rid of all these the Rupert Murdoch nonsense. Get rid of them because they're part of the billionaire bureaucrat alliance that's created the Uniparty. Take over a party, a major party, and then make sure you have your own financiers because you're going to need money. And the financiers, ultra millionaires, billionaires who are 100%, behind a MAGA project. And I think the combination of those two is enough to finally put a stomper in it. Just taking over DC with Trump. May not even be enough because you're going to, you saw what Paul Ryan did. You saw what Mitch McConnell did. They hold him hostage. Hey, you go too far. We're going to impeach you. And then we're going to vote to acquit. We're going to pull Romney's on you. So hopefully Utah's going to give us a real senator like Mike Lee and not another rhino, not another Democrat like Mittens. So anyway, I think that's what we have to take over the party, which we are doing. We are actively doing, and we're going to have to take over the donor class, and then we're going to have we're going to have a donor class that's reflective of our values. You put those two together, I think we're going to be pretty unstoppable. Thank you, Rockdo. Doomsday Machine again. Thank you, sir. Actually, now that I think about it, if you wouldn't mind making a video about Full Metal Alchemist, Brotherhood, or anime in general in the near future, that would instantly be a favorite video of mine. God bless and MAGA. I will consider. I'm going to see how I can bring in anime. Any angle. I've wanted to be honest with you. Doomsday Machine. I wanted to do one for a while. I'm a huge anime fan. I love anime. I watch it with my kids. Well, now they're all grown up. I'm watching it by myself. So yes, I will see what I can do with that. Thank you, DM. Charles, good to see you, my friend. Thank you for the gift. In regards to red states getting redder, I'm doing my part in Idaho. God bless you guys. I mean, people want to join you, for heaven's sakes. I'm doing my part in Idaho and getting involved. I went to a Twin Falls County GOP meeting a couple of days ago. There are rhinos, but most people want to keep it conservative. There you go. That's it, Charles. Get involved. Take over the party. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to get involved. Got it at that precinct level, because in the end, they're the ones who work together with the donor class to create the party, the ethos of the party. And yes, I know in Boise, you guys have issues with rhinos there, just as like they have issues with rhinos, in Utah and so forth. Montana is very interesting. I don't know if you caught, Charles, my video on Montana being the new Christian nationalist state. That's what, according to the New York Times, they are, with Greg Gianforte, their governor. But they really are. They seem to be going full MAGA there, full real faith, family, and freedom in neighboring Montana. So you might want to check out that video if you haven't. And then again, see what they're doing and try to bring as much of it into Idaho. Great. I'd love to see the greater Oregon or the greater Idaho movement succeed. I would. I think it would be, you'd be the third largest state by landmass if you were to redraw those boundaries westward. So we'll see. You're not alone. There's other Illinois thinking of doing something similar. Garrett County in Maryland wants to do something similar. Hook up with West Virginia. So fascinating stuff. So absolutely, Charles, what you just said is everybody take note of exactly what Charles said. Get involved at your local precinct levels. Get involved with it. And we have tons of patriot movements on Facebook. Join our Insiders Club. We have a huge patriot networking. So absolutely stay networked. That's absolutely key. Thank you, Charles. Absolutely right. Interstellar multipolarity. Love the name. And thank you for the gift. Left-wing populists here, all in for Trump 24 and a multipolar world. Is there room for someone like me in the MAGA coalition? Just 2 years ago, I had Trump derangement syndrome, happily recovered. Of course there is. That's the beauty of populism. I think you know the answer for that. It just, Stella, you just want me to wax a little bit on it, and I shall. So you're seeing it with Jimmy Dore, you're seeing it with number RFK, you're seeing it with number others. We're no longer left and right anymore. I mean, we have left and right frames of reference for sure, no question about it. And but what I found is left and right populists, when it comes to the main thing and what's right in front of us, we are 100% in sync. I mean, I've been openly advocating a Trump Kennedy ticket. I'd love to see something akin to that. So yeah, as long as you recognize the problem with the uniparty, as long as you recognize the problem with the donor class, as long as you recognize the problem with unipolarity, as I see you obviously do, on the international stage, right? Mark Twain said you can't be an empire abroad and a republic at home. If we're a unipolar power abroad, we're going to be a uniparty power at home. So, and you obviously recognize all that. And so I think for a lot of people, I mean, someone like, this is where someone like a Bill Maher doesn't quite get it yet. He doesn't have, from what I gather, he may, but from what I'm seeing, he doesn't seem to have those frames of reference. For him, it's all just about wokeness. Wokeness sucks. Wokeness is the new KK, as he puts it. Wokeness is the new Marxism. And we want liberalism. We want good classical liberalism. So he could sit down with Jordan Peterson and talk about the beauties of free speech, blah, blah, blah. Uniparty, right? The unipolar world, the billionaires and the donor class, hooking up with bureaucrats like Barney Frank sitting on the board of Signature Bank because he wrote the regulations that regulate banks, all that sort of stuff. I mean, he just doesn't seem to be there. Jimmy Dore is all in. Jimmy Dore sees it 1,000%. Joe Rogan is going there 1,000%. Remember, he was a Bernie Sanders supporter. So no, absolutely. We're all in it together. And then once we defeat the deep state, once we defeat the uniparty, once we defeat the unipolar world and bring in a multipolar world, then we could have a great time debating as the new populist right and the new mainstream right and the new mainstream left. We can have a great time debating our key distinctive points. But right now we're 100% united. And Trump, for better for worse, is the main populist candidate. So you're clearly seeing that. That's why I think a Trump Kennedy ticket would unite the populists completely. But if not, go with Trump, get him in. Let's smash the China shop, as it were, and then we can have a great time debating differences after that. So I'm with you 1,000%. So wonderful, Interstellar. Thank you so much, and love the name. Servant of God. Oh, it is anime, and Gaius, spelled Gaius, is what an Irish legend had about eating dog meat. All right, I will take a look. You got me on it, man. You got me. You see? Part of me doing this is going to be my my researching as well. Irish legend. I'll write that down. Thank you, sir. Always so kind for the gifts as well. BW. We'll vote out all rhinos in Texas. Amen. Left Louisiana for this state and don't want to see it fall. The impeachment is to tarnish Biden. Gates pushed it. Is to tarnish Biden. But no, I think the impeachment is going to hurt Biden. They're whistling in the door. Oh, this is the greatest gift Biden can get. James Carville was saying that again, saying that at the same time he's saying Biden is at the lowest approval rating of since Mondale. So or a support, particularly among non-white working class voters. I mean, he's imploding with them. So. And the Democrats can't win without them. So anyway, yeah, I'm with you. Get rid of all those rhinos in Texas. They're absolutely disgusting. Ken Paxton's magnificent. His lawyers were magnificent all this week. Any Republican that votes to convict Paxton needs to be primaried and thrown out of there on their ears. I mean, they are disgusting for that. Absolutely disgusting. And that's what Rove and Bush are all pushing. These are some of the most vile people on the planet. You don't want to have anything to do with them. They are the billionaire bureaucrat class. They are the permanent political class, with Murdoch too, almost as repulsive as Murdoch. Kenneth, thank you for the pound sterling. The right-wing Italian Giorgia Meloni fails to protect her borders, but so-called dictators like Putin, Lukashenko, Orban, and Xi have strong borders. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, it's just like, I don't know. I'll never understand some so-called, conservative commentators. Oh, Trump, MAGA, border sovereignty, but Putin is such a KGB, autocrat, despot. I hate him. Zelensky. I just don't know. Or even they don't even talk about Orban or even Xi, for that matter, and Lukashenko in Belarus. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, these guys are they are the 21st century leader who lead according to the values, interests, and concerns of the people. A lot of people don't realize President Xi is very popular. All the polls show it. The Chinese government is very popular among the people. Do I want to live there? No, that's not my tradition. That's again, I don't believe in a one-size-fits-all unipolar mode. I believe in a multipolarity. If China wants that, let them have it. If Tehran wants the Ayatollah, that's their deal. That's it. Why am I getting involved saying, why do I go John Bolton suddenly when it comes to Iran? So I think you're 100% right there. Now, I think you're a little rough on Meloni. I think you're a little rough. I do think she has begun to clamp down, but she is, and in fairness to her, and again, she's going to have to, she's got to face her voters. But in fairness to her, she does have to face the bullies in Brussels, as you know, Kenneth, that you severed yourselves from, at least to a certain extent. She's still under the neo-medievalism of Brussels. And in many ways, they're dictating, immigration policy. That's one of the reasons why Brexit happened. So I still remember Nigel Farage putting it so brilliantly back in 2016. So you Americans are very concerned about illegal immigration. We Brits are very concerned about legal immigration that's imposed upon us by a bunch of bullies from above, as it were. So in this neo-feudalist system. So I think she's trying to she's trying to dance a tango with the bullies in Brussels, which you can't. Hence why Britain was absolutely right to leave, which you can't. So you just have to break up this stupid thing and then create some a Latin alliance like Marine Le Pen is arguing for, or a Visegrad alliance that Mateusz Morawiecki and Orban are arguing for. So you create different alliances, but this whole one-size-fits-all super state upon Europe's is a disaster, and immigration is one of the keys of it. I think you're right. Thank you, Kenneth. Thank you so much. Have a John Smith's and think of me this evening. Servant of God, thank you, sir. Also, Gundam is one of the biggest mecha anime, and add Geo Guy. Dude, you gotta do this video. The King of the Braves to your list. Title characters, devout Catholic, not joking. All right, I gotta write these down here. So, King of the Braves. I need to start a new series. I just finished one, actually. Gar. Okay, I got it. SOG, man, I think you're the one who needs to do the videos on this. It's great. Thank you, man. That's brilliant. Doomsday Machine, thank you. Last one, I promise. Serious. Hey, you guys, I love it. You guys, thank you for the gifts. Thank you for coming on. I love it. Last one, I promise. Seriously, take some time and rewatch Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. It is some interesting parallels to what we're seeing right now. Okay, I'm done. I will. Although that's a big one. That's a long, several episodes. Thank you, DM. Thank you for those gifts. Very kind. Quotes for the magnificent. Thank you. No, I'm getting tired. Magnificent. Thank you for the gift. Dems remind me of cauliflower. And as Mark Twain says, cauliflower is nothing but cabbage with a college education. I love it. That's so true. It's cabbage. And that's, quotes for the magnificent. That's a very good tag name, because of course, the Democrats are becoming the party of the college educated, the college grad, whereas Republicans are becoming the party of the college non-grad. Those who did not graduate college are 80% or so voting Republican. Those who graduate from college, 80% voting Democrats. The problems, the people are graduating from college, it's actually becoming less and less. We're finding it's actually, for the first time, it's actually getting smaller and smaller, and it's not the majority. I think it's about a 60% here in the States are non-college grads. So the super majority that can form around that very frame of reference there is astonishing. So thank you, Quotes for the Magnificent. Well titled. Oh, thank God for the bourgeois. Yeah, right. There you go. In some sense, we always have to have an aristocracy. You know, they pay for the churches and high culture and the like. They just have to be in correspondence with the values of the people. And that's, ironically, that's where religion comes in. Religion, when done rightly, creates a sense of moral obligation for everyone that produces a cosmic harmony. Oh, thank God for the bourgeois. Vote Brandon hereafter for Second Amendment in... Oh, sorry. Hereafter. Brandon Herrera for Second Amendment in Texas. Okay, I do not know Brandon. Again, that's my shortcomings there, but excellent. So Brandon Herrera for Second Amendment in Texas. There you go. You got your shout out. Razgriz 259. Mr. Turley, you familiar with the anime by Eureka 7? Has a lot of ties to religion, including in its last intro song. And the music tends to be awesome too. Follows the surfing snowboard culture, and the mech fights are sweet. It's a little corny at times. I will write it down. I do not know it. Eureka. I think I've seen Eureka advertised. So I will take a look at that. Thank you, Chris. Look at that. We do have a lot of anime. I think we're on to something. I think we have to do some anime segments here. This is awesome. BR17, what's the threat of the woke taking over parallel economy institutions? James Lindsay has pointed out these parallel tactics can backfire. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. James has been saying some things that I've been scratching my head over of late. But no, I'm right now from the data that we have right now. The data is, and I'm talking about the data that's been compiled by Michael Seifert of Public Square and Andrew Krabischitz of Red Balloon. They have I have an interview with them that you want to check out this weekend. They have a database, 50,000 companies that they've done now 2 very extensive surveys with. And they're finding that they're more committed to their conservative patriot values than ever before. They've asked about mass mandates. They steadfast, and they have not met a single one in their 50,000 business database. Not a single one that would even think of requiring mask mandates of their workers at all. So far it looks pretty good. Could it backfire? We'll have to keep an eye on that. No question. Always have to remain diligent. I mean, look at that. The enemy's even taken over the church half the time. So yeah, we always have to remain diligent. The More Reform Chronicles. Thank you, sir, for the gift. Dr. Steve, after watching your video of what Matt Gaetz said to McCarthy as he held his rhino, but accountable. Thank you, God. Dancing in my spirit. Bring back accountability, baby. Yes. And again, that is Matt Gaetz's role, as I see him, is he is there. He's the most prominent figure to hold McCarthy accountable. And then Marjorie Taylor Greene is sort of the peacemaker between the two to keep the thing moving. So you need both. You need some acceleration to get things going, but you also need somebody steering as well, to keep you between the ditches, as it were. So there you go. Karen Wickers. Oh, hi, Karen. Good to hear from you. Thank you, Karen. Todd, I believe these evil Democrats would start a nuclear war rather than let Trump take power again. Would you put it past these evil people? Evil people do evil things, Todd. You know that. And that's exactly why you're saying what you're saying. And I wouldn't put it past them. I wouldn't. That's the only thing that scares me. Again, I go back to Putin. I see Putin here as the one with sound mind, the one who is more calculating and far more measured, who doesn't have doesn't have a, what do you want to call it, square inch of DNA of wokeism inside of him. So he's not prepared to go that far, but our people are, and hopefully there are just enough good guys in place to prevent that from happening. But yes, I see these people as utterly evil. Panga 474, Dr. Steve, how do we make the legacy media accountable to the people like other businesses in this country? If I lost 90% of my clientele, I'd be bankrupt. How come they're not? They're toxic for us. Yeah, well, they have the advertisers that continue to pay for them. And the way it works too is then you have the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, telling businesses who they're supposed to advertise with. And if you dare advertise with X or Twitter over here, we're going to call you out as an anti-Semite. So there's a whole racket involved in this. There's a whole racket to make sure that it's known as a grievance racket, to make sure that money always funnels over to where they want it, to where it belongs, so as to maintain and control the narrative. No, you just have to get rid of them. You just have to destroy them. And the good news is nobody's buying. You're seeing it in the polls. Nobody's buying what they're peddling anymore. Remember, in the 1950s, when we had a population of about 200 million, you only had 3 networks that gave you television news, right? ABC, NBC, CBS. Walter Cronkite alone could draw in 30 million people. I think the total was 50 to 60 million were getting their news out of a country of 200 million. Very significant number, right? 1 out of every 4 are getting their news from either ABC, CBS, NBC, and Cronkite himself could, on a nightly episode, could do a nightly report, could do 30 million. Today now, with nearly 350 million people in population, with PBS in addition to ABC, NBC, CBS, and cable news, 24/7 cable news outlets of CNN, MSNBC, CNBC, Fox, and the like, put all of them together, and they barely bring an audience of 20 million. They bring in the entire network and cable news apparatus doesn't even bring in what one news anchor was able to bring in 50 years ago. So their sins carry their own punishment. All right. So don't worry about them. Let them fade, let them fall. The era of network media, not network television, but the network society media of independent content creators. That's the new era. That's where Tucker's going. That's where, of course, this show is all about. Rush Limbaugh really got it going, where you analyze news from multiple sources, all different perspectives, put it all together and put forward a coherent narrative that interprets it and it analyzes it, makes sense. And then you find the best people who do that for you. So they're able to do all this work, all this research for you, then present it. And then you, with your own acumen, with your own intellectual gifts, could sit back and go, okay, that makes sense. I like that. I'm going to go with this person. And then you can compare it and contrast to all these different, right? You have the corroboration that's going on, the cross-referencing that's going on from all these different sources. So you don't just have this one unilateral, lobotomized refrain coming from ABC, CBS, NBC, Washington Post, New York Times, CNN, even increasingly Fox, MSNBC. Just, there's no evidence. There's no other. I mean, just like, they're just freaking zombies at this point. So everyone sees it. And so they're coming more and more to independent content creators where they're getting alternative narratives to what's going on. And it's making much more sense than this silliness they're getting from Georgie Stephanopoulos. So it's going to fall apart. Don't worry. That's an old model that's just it's an old business model that's just going to blow itself out eventually. So there you go, Pango. Thank you so much for your gift. Charles, Dr. Steve, while it can be fine to look at polls sometimes, we must be careful following 2016. Look at how off polls can be. Take them with a grain of salt. Some people could be psyoped and misled. Absolutely, Charles. And I try to do that. I'm always trying to do that. I don't take out a general. So some of the principles I follow, the number one principle I follow is corroboration. If there's one poll that shows Trump up by 10, I've got to see another poll that shows that. At least something comparable, and a poll coming from somebody else, preferably, like if one is coming from CNN, I'd like to see one from Rich Barris. I'd like to see one from McLaughlin. I'd like to see one from Rasmussen. Someone from the other political side. If both political sides are seeing the exact same thing, and that could get corroborated with something else, then we tend to have something. I think we have corroboration tends to indicate if two people from two different vantage points with two different methodologies are seeing the same thing, it tends to corroborate it's there. And then I like to compare it with RCP, Real Clear Politics. Again, which averages out the polls. If all your polls are faulty, your averages could be faulty. But it provides an indicator of, are we seeing a trend? Are things moving in this direction that these polls are suggesting? Or is this just an outlier? So that's what I do. I try to do. I love Rich Barris, Charles. I've had him on the show a lot. The People's Pundit. His analysis is just so awesome. He gets really into it. The way he explains the polling and so forth. And it was just dead on. The way he called Virginia by county for Youngkin was brilliant. The way he called 2016, the way he called 2020, before the shenanigans, before the water pipe break. I mean, he called it. It was perfect. So anyway, and so polling strategy, absolutely. And we have to be cognizant that they're going to be pulling out all the stops of their shenanigans as well, which renders polls irrelevant. Think about that. Even with all of Biden's puff polling that he got, he didn't even perform half of what they said he was going to do. He came within just a few thousand votes, literally 30, 40,000 votes of losing. It's amazing. Thank you, Charles. Great point for everyone to be aware of. Kenneth, thanks for the correction in terms of Maloney. Yeah, no, I mean, it's more, it's not even a correction per se, as it were, I'll correct your correction. Right? Yeah, just a refinement. And you know it, again, you from across the pond, Kenneth, know it more than any of us. Just what kind of bullies those idiots at Brussels can be. So anyway. Rock Dog, Dr. Steve, to really explain MAGA, people need to understand that left and right have a home because we are all America first. Amen. If that can be explained to more people, populism would be unstoppable. That's exactly right. I mean, that's what I always laugh when they say, Trump's a racist. Trump's a racist. Trump's the least racist person. If you're an American citizen, he's here to protect you. That's why he's trying to keep people out of the country for coming in illegally. That's why black unemployment was the lowest ever on record when Trump was president. So if you're an American, he's going to protect. That's what America first is all about. That's what Britain first is all about. That's what Russia first, Hungary first, Poland first is all. That's what Africa, right? The African populist movement that's happening, the Pan-African movement. That's what that's all about. So absolutely, it's about protecting our citizens. That's where you got the comment about Putin and Lukashenko and Xi and Orban and all these autocrats are actually the only ones that are protecting their populations. It's hilarious. Very good, Rock Dog. Brilliantly put. Russman, thank you for the pound sterling. Very, very appreciate it. Thank you. And Yano, back. Stevie, you notice 95% of Democrats are so mean and angry all the time for no reason. No, they can be. I don't know if it's 95%. That's kind of mean and angry, Yano. But yes, there is a I think wokeness lends itself, because wokeness embraces contradiction, it can't argue. Wokeness embraces contradiction, right? So a man can have a child, for example. So because it embraces contradiction, it can't argue. So the moment you try to argue with them, by definition, then you're a phobe. By definition, you're racist. So that's where it tends. it's a defense mechanism because they can't argue. Yep, we just had that. That's it, Kenneth. Oh, there, Kenneth. Is Putin a right wing or left wing? Right wing. So it's very interesting if you read the assessments of Putin prior to 2012. That's when he ran for his third term, if I recall. Prior to 2012, they would have said he was a total pragmatist, bordering even on kind of globalist technocrat. Remember, he was handpicked by Yeltsin to succeed him. He was supposed to be the oligarchs, best, white knight. They thought he was just going to keep the party going, the 1990s party going with Yeltsin. And something seemed to happen. It's hard to figure out what. I haven't read an assessment of what actually happened, like what the trigger was for him. But when he came back in 2012 after serving a term as prime minister, he started talking about civilization. It may have to do with the NATO. When he did his speech, what was it, at the Munich conference in 2007 that you can watch on YouTube. It's like a 40-minute speech where he said, absolutely no way, right? John Mearsheimer points to it all the time. Absolutely no way will NATO ever be allowed to take Ukraine. All right. You can, if you want Hungary, Poland, the Czech Republic, you want that, fine, take it. But you are not taking Ukraine. You're not taking the place where Prince Vladimir was baptized, and Imperial Russia created. It's just not going to happen. And they basically told him, shove it. They're going to do it. And within a year, they said no. I think what was it, the Bucharest conference? They formally invited Ukraine into NATO. That it may have been that, but that's when Putin, 2012, when he started giving his speeches on the campaign trail, he started taking a noticeably civilizational turn in his rhetoric and started talking about how the West was not our future. That's not Putin. Prior to that, Putin, the aughts in the 2000s, was totally all in on the West. He thought the West was going to be the basis for a revived, economically prosperous Russia. He threw that away. Our future is not the West. The West is decadent. The West is decaying. It's falling apart. The only path forward is a return. We have got to re-embrace our customs, our traditions, a unique Russian civilizational life, so as to secure our world, the Ruski Mir, so as to secure the Russian world, its world within a world, so that we have a future as the West, begin to die and fall into disrepair. That's 2012. And that's when he takes the turn to the right, to the extent that you would see cultural conservatism and traditionalism and civilizationalism as marks of the right, as it were. So at first he was very pragmatic, very technocratic in many respects, very administrative, old KGB guy. To this day, as I understand, an intelligence addict. He just reads intelligence briefs all day long. But somewhere around 2012, there's some excellent articles on this. On you'll see it, like Putin's civilizational turn. Somewhere around 2012, it happened. He ended up becoming the primary spokesman for a multipolar world rooted in culture and civilization, and gave rise to a civilizational state that can actually it was big enough to push back against globalism. Thank you, Kenneth. Awesome question. The More Reform Chronicles make accountability great again. Yes, amen. Senator McConnell, if you want videos of the enemy, I mentioned a guy named Micah Curtis did them. I will look it up again. Thank you, guys. Micah Curtis. Awesome. And that is it, gang. You have a wonderful weekend. I love you again. We have tons of new material coming out all throughout the weekend. Got a great interview you want to definitely check out on the state of the parallel economy. Keep up the great work. Stay praying. Faith, family, and freedom, gang. That's what we're all about. God bless. Have a wonderful weekend.